Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets and Independent Trading Group, we're very pleased you've joined us for the Blockchain and Digital Assets Conference. Our first live presentation is from Polymath. Please note you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Scheduled Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Vince Kadar, Chief Executive Officer, and Natalie Hirsch, Chief Financial Officer of Polymath. Vince and Natalie, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I guess we're ready to go. Thank you everybody for joining. Actually, it's going to be, I hope, a very exciting presentation for everybody, and that's a learning exercise as well, because this is a new category, a new space that has opened up, I'd say, starting in the last 6 years, at least for Polymath, but prior to that, actually starting with the invention of Bitcoin and blockchain as well. So as we power through this presentation, we're going to talk about, Polymath and just exactly who we are, what that blue sky opportunity is for tokenization, what the offerings are that we provide as an organization, and then what are some of the strategic initiatives that are driving actually our go public offering as well, because that's the other exciting element to what we're going to discuss here, is that the investment opportunity for Polymath as we go public, and as we are in the stage that we're in as far as fundraising. Okay, next, Natalie. All right, so introducing Polymath. So we're going to dig in a little bit more here, but ultimately we are digitizing the world assets through a suite of our own white label solutions, and these are things that we've built ourselves, right? And if I start at the very middle section of this slide, we are a pioneer in the real world asset tokenization space. We've been at this since 2017. Focused specifically on this area. We started in the world of Ethereum. If you remember, Ethereum came on the stage back in 2013, 2014. We built actually applications on top of Ethereum. And we brought standardization bodies and experts together in order to standardize this particular category that we're going to talk about today, which is the tokenization of real world assets. Now, it started in 2017, 2018 with us. And we brought together, like I said, the experts, and we defined a standard called ERC 1400. ERC 1400 then morphed into us, Polymath, building our own first layer one blockchain. So going to the left, actually, the layer one blockchain that's specifically focused on the tokenization of real world assets. Why did we do it? Because we feel that the industry needed a purpose-built solution specifically for the tokenization of real-world assets. We tried our best on building applications on top of Ethereum. Ethereum's a great network, a lot of users, but it's a general-purpose blockchain. Polymesh, the chain that we founded and we built, and we put all of our eggs in this basket, it's an institutional-grade blockchain. It's a public permission blockchain. All validators on the network are financial services products, all investors, all users, every actor on this chain is KYC and is known actually throughout the ecosystem. So there are no unknown actors on the chain, which builds actually what we like to really focus on is a system of trust, and trust that is built end to end, from the people that build it, us, to actually the operators on the chain as well. And then to the far right, we're vertically integrated, and vertically integrated actually as a technology stack. So again, what you'll see later on in the slide deck, actually just how we bring all these products together along with the public shell or operating business that we're integrating into. It all now makes sense and tied together well, actually holistically as an organization as we go public. So what are some of the strategic transactions actually that we've done over the past? First and foremost, actually, what we've just about to complete, and we're now almost through the process, and that's the acquisition of Polymesh. So as I stated earlier, Polymesh was created by Polymath. It was an organization that we separated out of Polymath. We set a course actually so that it can operate independent of us. But we felt, as both management teams operating independently, that we were stronger together. Especially as we're going public, because this is a first company to go public that will own a layer one chain. And what that provides to us is not just actually, tighter vertically integration, really alignment with the industry, greater exposure actually to the market, greater governance as well. What we're doing here is that we're increasing the stakes for anybody that's playing in this space, tokenization of real world asset, that your chain has to be publicly traded, that it has to actually have this stricter level of governance as being a public company and reporting your financials and really operating actually under stringent controls. The technology will be continued to be developed by the Polymesh labs, and we'll be continuing to invest and to build out the ecosystem and the technology there. And it's then the monetization potential that really comes from that as well, by Polymath carrying out its strategic initiative and being able to acquire additional assets, and assets of being software companies that will then integrate into that layer one chain, increasing adoption for that chain, but greater actually total value that's locked on that chain. The transaction that we are in the midst of, we announced, is this reverse takeover of Analytics Insight. That is the operating business, and what's important here, it's not just a shell. There are assets within this organization that are valuable to us, that we feel is very strategic in nature, in order to execute actually on what we feel is the vision of the business going forward, right? And it's a publicly listed company that has an investment in a broker dealer in Italy that is MiFID II licensed all across Europe, and will create the venue, and you'll see later in the slide, the venue for us actually for a security token exchange in Europe. And it will help accelerate our growth, because as anybody knows, if you make an investment, and really this is an investment product, actually a capital stack that we're building. If you're making an investment in a security token, which is really in a private company or in a public company, we always want a venue that you could be able to exit out of as well. And that gives us a venue for Europe. And we're working with another partnership actually, which will give us a venue in North America as well. So what are some of the investment highlights of Polymath? We've got positive cash flows. We're operating in a high growth sector, and really we've got a great revenue stream as well. So our revenue streams are derived primarily from staking and staking the crypto that's on our balance sheet, from our SaaS white labeled solutions as well, and then transaction fees that are derived from the Polymesh network. Our EBITDA, and we've always run this company, I'd say responsibly, and since inception, actually, we have always ensured that actually we were reserving and running the business actually cash flow positive, with above 25% EBITDA targets, and we will continue to do that actually as we are a public company as well. Our SaaS and tokenization platforms, and again, that's our issuance platform. You'll see that later as well, or at least glimpses of that. This creates recurring revenue and subscription-based actually services. Think of that, and what we build here is similar to the Shopify, but for capital markets. And it's the solution actually that we bring to the market that ties it all together. And it really takes away actually all of the, we'll call it the protocol speak and the crypto actually out of the solution. Everything is powered by cryptocurrency and a utility token actually that's on the layer one chain. But we take all that away and make it very easy and give our customers a Web 2 experience. This is a growing vertical with very strong trade winds. And as we said, actually and as you can see, actually, since the change of administration in the US, actually, things have really changed. And this is the wind in our sails. The cryptocurrency task force that has been created really is putting a focus on defining this space, and it is defined. Security token has been defined. David Sachs, who's head of the cryptocurrency task force, has provided a nod to this space. The OSC and the BC regulators actually have identified security tokenization, and we do have customers in North America, in Canada in particular, that are building applications utilizing Polymesh already. We think of compliance day in and day out. It's in our framework. It's in our knitting. right from the core product that we build to how we operate as an organization, and then how we think of, as a future public company. We are SOC 2 Type 1 certified already, with a Type 2 actually on the roadmap. And again, that just ties it all together as far as we need to operate actually, in this space and really build a company, but also a technology framework actually that the industry trusts. And then lastly, you can't have a company with a strong management team. And, we've got I'd say a great management team, and very strong actually with experience that we can pull in from many different aspects. And it's not just at the Polymath level, but it's at the Polymesh level as well. As we're integrating together, we've got, a great leadership team from technology to capital markets and to experience in the crypto space that's really actually, pulling the organization together. And I just mentioned actually that, and we're highlighting the C levels actually within the organization and our board of directors as well. There's myself, I've been a tech veteran for all of my career. I've had 2 prior startups actually in the past with successful exits. Last company was acquired by Constellation Software. Natalie Hirsch, who's our chief financial officer and is highly operational. She digs in the weeds. She was the head of operations at CoinSquare and the COO of Analytics Insight, our target company as well, and the interim CEO of Analytics Insight. Devin Soni comes from the Goldman Sachs actually, and he's our capital markets veteran. And David Hackett actually, he's been on several boards. He's a chartered accountant actually, and he represents everything to do with ensuring that our audits are run smoothly actually, and we're operating within our budget as we should. So what is this blue sky opportunity? Let's talk about that. This is the exciting part of the presentation. So what is this tokenization market, and what do we speak about tokenization? So just for the those in the audience that that maybe I sound like a computer modem from the 80s actually, and we all remember those. Tokenization, think about a security token as a digital share certificate that's programmed actually with the capabilities that the machinery takes over. So Skynet, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where the machinery takes over. Tokenization is Skynet actually for the capital markets industry. The machinery takes over at this point in time. There are no mistakes that will be made. Settlement is done in real time. Intelligence is programmed into the security token itself. And compliance aspects and trading aspects are respected actually via that security token. So as example, if I owned a digital share or security token in one asset and I'm trading it with Natalie, maybe it can't be traded based on jurisdictional. Maybe I'm a preferred shareholder and it can only be traded with other preferred shareholders. There's different aspects that could be have founder shares and they could be subject to a lockup. They can't be traded, right? This is a reinvention of the capital market stack, and it's important to think actually we are a disruptor in this industry, very much like Uber was a disruptor actually in the taxi industry, and Napster was a disruptor actually in the streaming music industry as well. What this sets the course for is a great venue, and Boston Consulting Group has been tracking this space. This is their 3rd report that they've reported where the tokenization market it's got a great growth rate actually, but a $19 trillion market opportunity in 2033. What that means is that we are really liquefying assets that are illiquid today, right? Private equity and commodities are already liquid assets, but real estate is not a liquid asset, actually, from a securities point of view. Fine art is not a liquid asset from a securities point of view. So think of the things that you have that you hold precious to yourself. Could be that Bobby Orr card, actually, for those that are our hockey fans here. That you can tokenize that particular aspect of what you have that's value. You could be a fractional owner of that. It is a security then. Real estate tokenization. Everybody really understands that because real estate is highly valued. It doesn't go away, and it's a tangible product. The opportunity here is to turn real estate from the asset that it is into a security actually in the future. So brokers that deal in real estate aren't the same brokers that deal in securities, right? So there's a crossing a chasm actually here where it's a different industry that's forming. And what we see in the future is that token holders of real estate of, let's say, the Royal York in Toronto. That could be a highly traded asset that creates yield. You could be an owner of that, or it could be actually a physical asset like a toll road, actually, that, you know, and those of us that maybe live in states and provinces actually that where toll roads have been privatized actually by governments but paid by taxpayers. Well, maybe they should be owned by taxpayers, and that will create actually an interesting offering. This is a global trend that is happening here. It's just not actually in North America. And so, you know, what this highlights is the activity that's going on around the world. I was recently in Pakistan addressing actually the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, actually educating the industry on what tokenization provides there. Large opportunities around the world. This is not just a North American thing, and we'll highlight later actually just, you know, areas of focus and projects that we're working on around the world. So what is a progression of tokenization? I don't really probably need to go through this, but just, you know, just to highlight, we started in the paper era of like physical share certificates in a filing cabinet. We did the electronic trading. It started in 1972. Actually, I think IBM was really a key player in that. And then, you know, early tokenization started off in 2015 to 2022. And, you know, you could thank Polymath for actually really starting that effort. ERC 1400, as I said, was actually something that, you know, we brought to the industry and really created the foundational element for this industry to flourish. Traditional finance is moving off into what we're calling actually decentralized finance, actually, where there really isn't a centralized exchange you're operating in. You could take your wallet of security tokens and crypto and trade it on any venue actually that's globally around the world. But security tokens, actually, what we're starting to see, and as that previous chart highlighted, is that the wind is in our sails now, starting in 2023. We're seeing evidence of movement. We're licensing our platform. There's a lot of assets that are queued up that really want to provide liquidity for where illiquidity actually is today. So why tokenize an asset? You know, that's interesting. It's like, you know, the system isn't broken. So why are we actually reinventing the wheel? We're not reinventing the wheel. We're actually making it better. We're optimizing it. We're taking costs out. We're creating the ability to create really divisible and fractional ownership of high value assets. We're making things transferable easily today, actually, because it's not easy to transfer if you own fractional ownership of, let's say, a Pagani. Actually, well, you can't actually easily transfer your ownership in fractional ownership to somebody else, but you can when it's running in a digital framework. There's security and transparency. There's increased liquidity. There's this global reach because this is truly actually a global play. Fractional ownership, as I said, programmable appliance like Skynet is taking over actually from here. And then there's a real cost efficiencies, right? We're reinventing the wheel. And as you saw, like Uber really did, you know, and Napster and all these online, they really did reinvent the industries and really served actually the overall community actually in order to create actually a wider audience. But, you know, I'd say build an operating platform actually that is efficient and effective for the industry. And even a nod to, you know, another Canadian company, Shopify. They've really created a platform actually for e-commerce, very much like we're creating that platform for capital markets. So what are our offerings? So let's get into that. So, you know, what's really important here is that we start, you know, the technology suite starting with that bottom layer, our layer one chain, the Polymesh blockchain. It's purpose built for security tokens. It's that compliance first architecture. We think, like I said, institutional and regulatory frameworks every day. Every node validator on this chain is KYC'd. It's a financial services company. It's a bank. It's an exchange. It's a broker dealer. And it's somebody that carries actually a license to operate as a, you know, anybody in the financial services realm in their sector. It's truly decentralized. We have validators all around the world. We're up to over 100 validators as well. We'll make announcements actually in a few coming weeks of more validators that are coming on the scene. The Polymesh Association or Polymesh Labs recently just announced actually PaySafe, and PaySafe is a money services business license. They're a money transmitter around the world. They recently joined the Polymesh Labs actually as a validator on the network. Next layer is our white label platform. That's our Polymath Capital platform, which is a truly white labeled solution that's licensed to broker dealers and issuers and fund managers itself. It allows you streamline actually the token creation. We take the crypto out of crypto in this particular platform. It is a back office operational efficiency platform. We also then have Token Studio. Token Studio is our first product. That's a self-service product. And that's for the Web3 community. It allows you to actually bring your own wallet. And at the very top of that stack actually is our analytics insight in the ATS trading platform. That brings us all together. Now we've got all the assets that we need actually from the chain to the trading venue in order to create an environment that is full service. Next. Technology solutions, I'm not going to beleaguer this point. I think I touched upon every single one of them. The only item to talk about here is our Start Me Up program. That's a freemium offering that we're offering actually for early stage companies to tokenize N assets, in their particular investor portal. And it's to capture as much market share as we can in the industry right now. Next. Ecosystem partnerships. It's just to highlight actually the the partners that we've got in this. We can't build everything and everything ourselves and operate actually a capital markets industry. And so we've got, and what you'll see here is a series of logos. In order to actually deliver a full turnkey solution, we need digital custodians, and we've got several digital custodians that are onboarded into the Polymath ecosystem, from Zodia, which is owned by Standard Chartered Banks, to BDAX, which is a digital custodian in South Korea, to Tetra Trust and Circle in Canada, as well as Etana in the US. KYC partners, Jumio. If you've ever actually taken a plane on United Airlines, Jumio is their partner actually for scanning your passport actually before you're on board. Well, that they are on board, one of our onboarding partners, along with Netkey as well, in order to actually bring users on that are identified on the chain. And that's the whole KYC element of it. Nobody is unknown to us as an actor on this chain. And then representation of other companies on there. Token Tracks is a streaming royalty music platform. They're tokenizing music royalties and RE tokens. And there's another one on here, which is a real estate play. Oaktree as well, out of Canada. They are building real estate platforms on top of our layer one chain. Next. So some of the projects that that we're working on as well, along with some of the logos in the past as well. So again, proof of concepts in Hong Kong with an exchange, to work that we're doing in Pakistan from my recent visit that's there, to an issuance platform actually in Canada, to actually another product and issuance platform in Australia. And in each of these, actually, again, the early stage to mid stage, they will be announced actually as we start progressing, through each of the projects. You can see the strong pipeline that Polymath has, and that we're tracking. And we getting through this pipeline, I'd say, again, it's a feat in itself, because this is a regulatory play. It comes from a discovery, and there's over $4 billion worth of assets actually that we're tracking right now. Legal is the big element here, actually, because, again, you've got to get through the legal gate in order to deploy actually a security token on our platform. That's important to us, actually, because, again, this is a security. This is not actually we're not selling socks actually on the internet. And so, again, getting from legal to then setting up a sandbox environment to deploying actually a security token, it's again, it's a process, and it requires actually lawyers to underwrite the security token offering broker dealers actually in order to then engage and to offer the security token itself. Next. Important point there, 60% of our pipeline is coming out of the real estate sector. As we said, this is the illiquid asset and illiquid asset and market actually. And this is the one that actually has the highest interest. And we think, which is really going to actually move the needle as well. So what is our business model? Business model actually comes from staking revenue from software, licensing our platform as a software as a service platform to blockchain infrastructure. So we derive revenue from each of these elements here. The SaaS platform, think of it as any other SaaS company play, actually the white labeled solution. Staking revenue, if anybody actually follows Sol Strategies or Hanover actually, or a lot of the recent companies that have pivoted into acquiring crypto and staking it, that's the revenue that we derive from as well. And it's primarily from, again, the chain that we built, from the crypto that's required in order to power all of our infrastructure. And then the blockchain infrastructure, that's a network fees actually that come from licensing and activity on our chain. So how do we monetize all this? And this is important, right? That once we put an asset on the chain, revenue is generated actually by means of tokenizing that asset, by transaction revenues on that assets as well. What that does is that grows the total value locked, and then there's an increased value appreciation in the Polymath itself. Next. Over to you, Nat.
Okay, in terms of revenue, there's been increasing growth over the last few years. Now, this is an integrated financial snapshot we're showing here, which is the pro forma with Polymesh. We announced that transaction in May, and we plan to close the purchase and sale agreement of Polymesh in the next week or the next 2 weeks. So as you can see, we're showing the combined revenue, audited revenue for 2024 of 18 million Canadian, the majority of which currently is staking. So that's about 90% of our revenue to date. And then the expected for 2025 with the combined entities working together, starting to diversify away from just staking. We have a conservative estimate of about 20 million. In terms of assets we hold in the combined balance sheet, we are currently in the market with our concurrent financing, with Canaccord leading the round, joined by Roth, Sightline Partners, and Research Capital Corp. They're raising a minimum of 18.75 million, which is part of the TSXV float requirement. Once closed, we will have about 26.5 million Canadian on our balance sheet, and also with the integration of Polymesh back into Polymath, we get about 280 million PolyX tokens, which based on the trailing average value, which fluctuates day to day, is about 65 million Canadian in assets. So this transaction is really boosting our balance sheet in terms of value and solidifying our position in terms of holding PolyX. In terms of our pro forma cap table, we have 73% on closing of the transaction, which is expected at the end of August, early September. Right now, the AGM is booked for the end of August. Founders and insiders will hold post-closing 73% of all shares. Analytics Insight, which is the target for which we are reverse merging into, will hold 5% of all shares. And new investors through the concurrent financing at 20%, and others who are mostly the non-insider founder contingent of Polymesh will hold about 2%.
So let's talk about our strategic initiatives, actually post-public. So, we believe that, again, actually, in order to really accelerate, the growth of this industry as well, is that, we also need to acquire actually additional assets in order to leverage. And what's interesting to Polymath going forward is anything that's actually that in the capital market stack that can integrate directly into the Polymesh blockchain, that can unlock incremental value actually in that chain and utilize that chain actually, for greater purposes. So, broker-dealer software platforms, there's a lot of businesses out there, small and rather large, that deliver into this industry. That's interesting to us because that's actually where all the primary issuance is happening. Digital asset exchange software like ATS software, again, interesting to us because, again, we're the settlement layer actually for, this industry. custodians, actually, it's, we're partnered with many. It may make sense actually for us to, to acquire one at some point in time, so that, again, we're tighter together, and really actually providing that end-to-end solution. Now we've got a pipeline of organizations that we've been speaking to along this journey for the last 3 years, nurturing the relationship actually as we go. And again, as we're public, this is important to us. I see one question actually where there's something about, are we moving away from staking actually and selling PolyX? We're not selling PolyX. We're holding on, and we're actually accumulating as we go. And so why invest in Polymath? Technology leadership. Again, we've been a leader in this space. We're continuing to focus on being a leader in this space. We're investing actually into this market. Financial stability. Actually, again, we've always operated this business actually, thinking actually of the bottom line. We don't want to overspend. We want to ensure that we're, responsible custodians of what we're doing here and raising additional funding in order to grow. And then it's that growth potential as well. Exposure to the market opportunity here. Actually, we're the pioneer in this space. We defined ERC 1400. Actually, it's still a standard that's utilized actually by many players that's out there. We built all that intelligence actually internal directly into the chain as well, and we think it's important for us to carry on and push ahead in this industry.
So that's it for us. We want to just thank everyone. And I see there's a lot of questions. We ran out of time here, but we will follow up with everyone with some of these answers. So I really appreciate all 20 questions that came in. We will get to them. Thank you.